Well, good evening. Starting to look like something, isn't it? Need a little project for tonight. It's rather late and I've got less time than usual, but I do want to talk to you about a couple of things. Come on, let's have a look around the railway. I did dim down those signals. They're now much more reasonable. Even on the camera, they're not blaring out. So yeah, there's that. But the reason it's red is because we're going to bring out one of the EMUs. Let's have a look. Well, there we go. I want to see something here. Well, that didn't work. Oh well. The idea was it would stop back here. Of course it took off. I've forgotten about that block. We'll just get another one. I know you like watching trains. Why don't we get the little one out? That'll do it. Here it comes. Past the signal box. Across the double slip. Over the footpath and onto the third rail. Look what I've been up to. The one thing about it I'm not keen on is it isn't quite straight and it isn't yet painted. So there's a little bit of a bulge in it there. You can't see it, and who else would? At normal viewing angles, it's perfect. I will show you the real angle. Look at the gap. You see that? Not the wooden board that holds the shoe, but the shoe itself, which is under there. You see that? There's a bit of a gap under it. They do more or less line up. So we've got some third rail. The way I did it, quite simply super glue. What I'd been, who knew? You put a bit of super glue on a few of the sleepers, put it on and hold it there. I did end up gluing it to my finger. Still got the mark to prove it. But yeah, it's as stable as all get out. That works beautifully. So that's what we will do. There are two sizes of rail. I want the smaller one for down the middle. I will say the first time I stuck it over here and you can't see the glue, which is impressive. And then realised we've got the footpath, and so I had to pull it up and move it. So yes, we're on it. And what I will do is, do you see the difference between the one in the middle and the one on the edge over there? The one on the edge is done with it's wobbly, and it's done with the Pico insulators. It's not Pico's fault, but they don't stay on well because this is the wrong code of track. The middle one's done with a daub of white paint. Side by side, and I'm 4 inches away there. You can't tell. Don't tell me you can. So white paint it is for the rest of them. So once this is set, I'll just put a tiny dot of white paint. It's in the right place too. Done my research. Through stations it would go on the inside, but most of the time it was, or as often as not, was on the outside. I find that strange, but that's the reality. Yes, I mean, I know. If you're walking along here then, is this called the cess? I don't know. Anyway, walking along here, you're going to be very close to it. Finally, a success story with the third rail. Another thought I had is soldering little tiny nails to the bottom of the track and then just whacking it with a hammer. That I think would work, but why make it complicated when super glue works? Need to order some more super glue, don't I? So here comes that 2-car unit back into the station. Must say that one does stop beautifully. It stopped exactly in the right place. There's the buffers there, look. It does that consistently. Not going to mess with it. It's a rare railway bridge that would be this high. But let's watch the 4-car come into the platform here. I think this one stops. It's going a bit quick. It stopped a little short. Rather a lovely scene for somebody that's from the southeast and went to school on these every day. These, I've said this a number of times, these were incredibly common. usually painted all blue for us, and then those with the buffet car would take us to school in Sandwich. Oh, stop it. Sandwich is a real place. A goodly number of you have said that the transformer needs a fence around it. Yes, I agree. Think underground though, and not overground. Still needs a fence around it. I mean, I wouldn't want to brush past one of those things. A little bit of work to do. I've thought about moving it further down there, but I really don't want to tear up that old engine shed siding. So we'll work on this when we get around to this side of the board. I am in London on Friday, and I've changed my flight so that I will be there on a day certain shops are open, and I should really call ahead and find out if they actually have this stuff. But I want to extend the back scene, of course. The hole there needs covering up. That's straightforward. That's just a piece of fence and a piece of cardboard. That's genuinely how it is. Ballast is rapidly catching up with me. I must do that. But there is some here to do as well, isn't there? And that's much more obvious. So I might just do this next. Wrong side of the board. And I keep talking about Fiddleyard. I'm pushing that project back. I've got plenty of other things before we start something new, but it does need doing. Permanent connection is made to the under scene there. I want to pull the trains out of there and show you what that looks like. It's quite interesting. And then we've got to start planning the blocking off these two, and or not, and moving on from here to there. So from there to here is our next big project. So I want to try to get that done. I don't want another retaining wall. This place is becoming retaining wall city. Something more like that, just a continuation from here to there. There was a rock face that sat under there, but I think I can do better than that. This is what they make fake fireplaces out of, I'm told. So this had been sitting there. Like so. And as I've said a number of times, anything's better than nothing. But it is bothering the tunnel mouth. So I have a little bit of work to do there. I did shave off. For years I had that corner on, and it was the trains were touching essentially. So yeah, we'll put that on for now. I will say I know, and anybody that's from the southeast of England, especially Kent, knows that chalk clips, not grey dirt or granite, are very much in evidence. So if you had an open face like that, you would be as likely to see white chalkiness there than rock and dirt. It's much easier just to slap some brown paint on and get away with it. This is my thumb's touching the camera and my fingers. What's that? It's about 6 inches or so. At 2 foot, you don't notice, but that really should be, if it's Kent, should be white. Can you see the patterning there? You see that? That's the cloth bandage that hasn't held everything. But again, if you know about it, you know. But yeah, scenery is our next thing. At least a little bit of it from here. Between the viaduct and here is what we've got to work on. Specifically for Leopard's Tail, that's a interesting channel too. A little bit more technical depth than ever I get into, but he painted a tree. Well, that's a bit like this, and it's being lit up with that. But I hid the light in a tree. We talked about that a few videos ago. But here's the thing. Some of the shadows we get on a layout. So for example, if we go over here, see the shadow of the street light on the ground. Well, that doesn't come from the street light. That comes from light above the street light. So if I put my hand up there, do you see? So the light in the room often gives us false shadows. Good lighting in this room. It's been used for video making for a long time, other than train videos. But so be aware that your shadows often aren't. That shadow is not cast by this light. In fact, it would be better if there were no room lights. Like that, if you see what I mean. So the shadow behind the street light, you see the one coming across the track, that is from the street light, but there are now no shadows of street lights on the road. If I turn the room lights on again, there they are. Clearly then, lighting is a crucial part of any layout, not just the lights, but the lights in the room, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I love the green and reflecting in the rails there. That's for me is an essential part of all of this. Can you see the wires up the mast and the light on the top? Of course you can't. You can now. So that's working. I put that in the other night. I've also put the light in there. Let me show you that. W.H. Smith's and Sons lit up. That kind of works nicely. Need to get that installed onto the platform. I haven't got enough fingers to hold the wires onto penny batteries. So that's two little projects. We haven't really talked about the front of the board either. I've worked along the back. This is a hinged section. Never goes back right. And we haven't really visited over there very much. It's at the end of the runway. But right now the 47 is coming into... What are you doing? Well, that was an interesting little fault. When I drilled, I haven't tied all these up yet, a couple of suitcase connectors, they're perfectly fine. I know some of you don't like them. I don't care for them, but they do an okay job. But when I drilled through the board to get that cable down there, I nicked this one. This one. I nicked this one and just found out it wasn't working. So we've just had a on-the-fly repair to do. So I will, remember I said it's a temporary supply, I just need to tidy that up a little bit, and I will do that imminently. Imminent is different than immediate, just saying. So now once I get the power back on, the 47 should be able to continue its journey. Looks like he's running for his train, he's going to miss it. Right, so the 47 is now on the section that wasn't working, so that's good. Looks like we got a fix there. And it's stopped. Now, where has it stopped? Let's have a walk down to the other end here. Look at this, people. It has stopped perfectly at the end of the platform and at this end too. So I rather like that. Do like a good 47. I've only got one of them. But yeah, those were replaced by the 57s, weren't they? The only 57 I would ever even dream of collecting would be the Royal train, because we used to see that occasionally on its way up to Balmoral. When we were in Carlisle, you would sometimes see it sitting there feeling all smug with itself. Sorry to see that train go. I think it had some potential, let's put it that way, even though times move on. This is developing into a bit of a running session, isn't it? I need to turn my soldering iron off. Remind me, will you? This next train movement, I actually do want to snatch the locomotive and have a look at its wheels. They've been rather grubby in the past, and that we're not having. What did I tell it to do? Something it shouldn't. Interesting. Yes, things sometimes do misbehave. There was a little bit of a discussion going on with a couple of the regular viewers about the virtues of DC versus DCC. Now, that particular little problem we had there was to do with this point not having changed. When I power the system down, and you remember I just did to repair that block section feed. So it was this wire here that had been nipped when I drilled down for the station lights. But when you power down in the way that I did, sometimes points are in the wrong place. That's nothing to do with the DCC control system. That would happen on a DC system too. Really it does. So that little problem is just a restart problem. Let's get the 20 out of the way. There's nowhere to put it, so we're going to have to run some trains. What a lovely scene though. You've got 2 Spam cans, a 40 and a 47, and the 40 stopped right where you want it to as well. Need to get some lights in those coaches. But I do want to get the wheels cleaned on that particular train. We're going to run it in just a minute, but I'm going to get the 20 out of there first. Well, I said there was nowhere to put it, but all I'm doing is moving it forward in the fiddle yard, so it goes onto the track in front of it. And now I've got my stone wall in the way, I won't be able to see it. So I need to get those cameras installed under there too, don't I? That's another little project. So that's a good example of what it looked like before. So that's the before. And right before we look at the after, that's where the 20 has stopped in the fiddle yard, just there. We've also got a little bit of scenic work to do there, haven't we? So that's another project. Now then, you can see under the arches there, no ballast under there, and I'm certainly not putting it there. But do you see the wall back there? So a little bit of a grey wash. It actually stippled in brick-like fashion. So there's 1 arch, there's 2. And can we see the 3rd? We can, sort of over the tops of the trains. Well, that is just paint. Believe it or not, that looks like a brick wall, doesn't it? That is just paint and nothing else. If I move on, I'm shoving the camera down the track, and it's going to look through the next arch. That's looking through the arch. Let's see if I can zoom back a bit here. There we go. Do you see that? That's just paint. I think I got away with that really beautifully. Now I've got to get the camera out from under there. So we're talking about under those arches. You barely see it, but what you do see, I think it really looks good. I have no idea why it turned out that way. I've got no idea what I did. I just got a big old paintbrush and went with some grey paint. There was a bit of a reaction with something I had on the brush, and sometimes you get lucky. So yeah, it looks good under there. So now we can pop the night mail to bed. It can go around and pop back under there. And coming out from under there, it looks lovely. Passing the nonsense here. I say nonsense, you've got very preserved railway look, haven't you? A couple of guards vans, should be a tarpaulin over one of them, and a gronk. Yeah, I love it though, just a lovely scene. There we go, I love the green reflective light there. I need to put those people back on the platform too. Lovely scene. It's starting to become a rather photogenic layout, isn't it? Now my son was here tonight and he said, "Dad, that's beautiful." He hadn't seen it before. "All you need now is a party in the pub." And I think he about split a gut laughing when I pushed the button and the party kicked off. Where's the button? That one. Love it. So yeah, he's impressed. We haven't seen this scene before. This is under the canopy, looking through the arches. Kind of hard to get a camera there, but that's what it looks like when that happens. Interesting that it stopped that far forward. These are the kinds of things I want to check before we fully cover up down there. It seems rather far forward, but actually I'm sure it's safe. And we're going to park Winston Churchill with the funeral train under there too. I perhaps should have done it the other way round so that you could watch both of them. I'd forgotten about the organ grinder there with the monkey on the organ. I'm very partial to those mechanical music things. Have to have a think about those. That is the curve that we've been talking about needing to ballast. I think in the next couple of days I'll do that. The green light that will reflect on the roof of the carriages, this being my favourite curve because it's such a sweep. So we'll see in a second as the funeral train goes by what it looks like. Love it. You see that? The green light reflecting. It should turn red there at very latest. It doesn't. That's one of the flaws of how it's operated. But nevertheless, it's a step in the right direction. So that, of course, is now in behind the mail train. And it's interesting, the reason I've put those two in there is that they've now left the big gap behind them. And so there are no trains under there. And so now the grey paint becomes even more eerie, as it were. No ballast down here either. I am going to have to do something about that, but that's going to wait a little bit. I'm not taking this all to pieces just for that just yet. It'll come. Let me turn the 40 around so I can lift it and have a look at the wheels of this train. I could actually take one of these carriages off first and have a look at that. Those wheels are just fine. I'm not messing with them. And there goes the 40. Just missed it taking off, but it did a wonderful job. Over the third rail section. What I like about that third rail is that you barely notice it. It is there, but you barely notice it, and it's just how it's supposed to be. I know it's there, and anybody looking to be critical when you're running EMUs knows it's there. But in normal day-to-day life, you don't see it. Now, this one is wrong side running, so it's not going past the signal. And there's, in that instance, no excuse for it, because it could have gone over that junction to get where it needs to be. So that's an annoyance that I will sort out on the next round of programming, as is that little run-on. It came to an abrupt halt. Did it well, but it's just a little bit too far forward, isn't it? Somebody said there's a rule about that and you would have to get back and trudge back and make a phone call. But there are no signals at this end of the platform just yet. There's always somebody that says, you'd be better off with DC. Well, I might well be better off with DC, but I have DCC. I'm not a DCC snob. That train running on DC would have stopped exactly where I wanted it to because I'd have been twiddling the knob. In this instance, there are only one train. There is only one train running, but all of the points along that complex route changed on their own. You could do that with DC, so you could have route mapping with DC, but yeah. I've grown to love DCC, even though I understand DC a whole lot better. Oh, I've learned to understand DCC too, don't get me wrong. But, yes, I think a lot of the DCC argument is mostly from people who can cleanly understand the DC thing and work it out with some logic rather than they really understand the benefits of DCC. Now, there are some real drawbacks too, but this wasn't supposed to be a discussion about that. I'm going to whip him upside down and have a look at his wheels. Well, since you are upside down and you are incredibly difficult to re-rail, I will put a bit of foam under your roof so you don't get scratched on the track or the ballast. I took a nail out of there the other day. There was still a track pin in there. I will give you a little clean, but you really don't need it. Those are good. Cleaning over. Lap accomplished. Should have shown you that. Stopped in exactly the same place again. So we're going to have a look at the programming on him. That beep, beep, beep was the Digitrax controller saying, I'm done with you and I'm done with this. Yes. Why are we running a 40? Well, because I like them. You're a bit abrupt. We need to talk out your deceleration. But that's all. Yeah. So what did we decide I was going to do? At this point, I'm still very content with the canopy. More than happy with how the spam cans are behaving. And in our next video or so, we will get on with some scenicing. If I don't go to bed soon, I shall turn into a pumpkin. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate you. Video up here and subscribe over there somewhere. I'm sure you'll find it by now. Really appreciate you all. As the channel grows, it's you that's done it. Thank you.